Electricity is one of the main indicators of a society's development. It literally powers a nation, and it's fundamental to operations such as street and traffic lights, hospitals, and keeping stores lit. How Yorkton got its power is a story unto itself. Let's charge up that tale. I'm Hayden DeGrow, and I'm the Culture and Heritage Specialist for the City of Yorkton. I love learning history, and teaching people about Yorkton's past is a proud part of my job. Join me as I highlight fascinating people, places, and events from Yorkton's history and take you where these places can be found today. This is Yorkton Retold. As the craze for electricity was taking over Canada in the early 1900s, it was becoming a source of pride for a community to be connected to an electrical grid. Yorkton's first attempt of lighting its streets during the night was not even electricity related, though. The first system was a series of 12 gas lamps whose fuel source was acetylene gas. The gas came from a plant right here on the corner of Broadway and 6th. Starting in 1905, they were hand lit, similar to what we see here in this old photo from Great Britain. As electricity began to take over and streetlights evolved to be powered by it, cities across Canada began to develop their own systems. Back in this time, to get their electricity, a city built its own system to generate power. Yorkton's was once right here in front of us, powering this town and later the city into the future. As we can see in this photo from a flood in the 1920s, Yorkton's first facility is standing amongst the waters in the background. Prominently displaying its building date on its front wall, the building was Yorkton's combined power station and waterworks building. Within this building, a 150 horsepower diesel engine generated power for the city. Soon after this building opened, it suffered a massive fire. On the night of January 10, 1911, the frosty winter air caused a shutdown for a brief period. During its downtime, the fuel lines to the internal storage tank clogged. When this system was turned back on, extra pressure was added into the lines to clear the clogs. These clogs suddenly cleared though, and the pressurized fuel overflowed into the storage tank, flooding it. The overflow then spilled onto the diesel engine's exhaust system, causing it to catch fire. The fire then spread up the storage tank, which ignited as well. This caused a raging inferno that consumed the entire 1910 building. In response to this disaster, Yorkton instilled a new plan. The 1910 building was still salvageable and was kept as the city's waterworks. However, learning from the 1911 disaster, Yorkton decided to move and expand their power station. In 1913, Yorkton opened the new diesel-powered generating plant we see here. The proverbial ribbon was cut by Mayor Charles Livingston. This plaque was erected on the building right beside its front door, showing the councillors who had made it possible. It also shows the team who would be in charge of the station, known as the Fire and Light Committee. By 1918, Yorkton had established a 24/7 service of electricity, one of the few communities to have that in Saskatchewan at the time. The sheer size of the building is remarkable, as seen in this photo from the 1930s. As we can see on this map, the new power plant wasn't all that far from the old waterworks building, keeping the system close to the original power lines. We can also see that there was a spur from the Canadian National's railway line, allowing for supplies and access to the rail line. Heading on inside the building, we can see what the systems look like. This is a shot when the systems were being expanded in 1930, adding in a third engine and generator. On the right, we see the future base for the engine, while on the left, we see the existing generator number 2. Behind these, we see engine number 2, nicknamed Jeff, with its partner Mutt behind it. And yes, back then, they nicknamed their engines and their machinery. In the back left corner, we see the number 1 generator. Now we jump ahead to 1948 and join our man Herb Linfoot in the power plant. By this time, Yorkton had actually sold the power plant to Midwest Utilities Limited, which later became Canadian Utilities Limited. The city had done this to let the company better handle the operations of the plant. According to the city clerk at the time, the deal was made apparently good, and the city kept getting its electricity. Coming back to Herb, he was a longtime employee of Canadian Utilities and was in charge of keeping the engines running efficiently. But this brick and mortar building was not the only power plant Yorkton hosted. In the 1930s, before power lines we know today were strung up across the province, Canadian Utilities Limited needed a way to get power to rural communities. It is common knowledge that the railway was one main way rural communities were connected, so Canadian Utilities Limited used them. The company assembled hundreds of portable power plants mounted in specialized boxcars, each having a compact version of the diesel system powering Yorkton. These cars were sent along railway lines to add power to local communities. As we can see in this photo, the cars had a crew of 6, with mechanics and machinists working alongside the newfangled trade known as the electrician. The gentleman, known as the power plant gang, worked with railway workers to bring power to the province. As the power line network expanded, this particular car was eventually permanently stationed along the Yorkton Station's rail spur to boost the city's power generation capacity during peak times. However, times were already changing. In the 1920s and 1930s, the provincial government performed a series of studies to see how to best assemble its power grid and spread it permanently to farms in all communities. This led to the creation of Saskatchewan Power Commission in 1948. The next year, the provincial government made the commission into a full Crown corporation, known as the Saskatchewan Power Corporation. This was later simplified to be called SaskPower. As we can see in this 1951 photo, their office and showroom in downtown Regina was located where the Cornwall Centre is today. They moved to their current head office in the 1960s. SaskPower worked with Canadian Utilities to iron out a deal for the Crown to take over Yorkton's power station. The contract they signed allowed Yorkton to see a 15% power rate reduction, a power surcharge, and a 5% cut of the gross revenue in exchange for SaskPower to use their facilities and growing network. This led to the city of Yorkton to become the first city to accept such a contract with SaskPower. As technology advanced during the 1950s, SaskPower moved ahead to install new networks across the province. During this time, SaskPower worked with Yorkton to assemble streetlights for all of their streets. In this 1951 photo, we see Mayor Charles G. Langrill pulling a switch in the Yorkton power station, activating the full system for the first time. In this nighttime shot, we can see what the streets look like with this, a view where the buildings may have changed, but the lights have stayed the same. Near the end of the 1950s decade, SaskPower was able to transmit power over much longer distances. Around this time, the Boundary Dam Power Station was commissioned, creating a more centralized generation station for eastern Saskatchewan. To connect Yorkton to this new station, SaskPower strung up large overhead lines, connecting various local communities and the city with the power stations. We can see the routes of those lines here in a time lapse of their construction. In 1958, with the connections completed, the Yorkton Power Station was officially decommissioned as a generator, shutting down its engines fully for the first time in over 40 years. The very next year, Boundary Dam was officially commissioned, ending the time of local power stations for most of Saskatchewan. From 1958 to 1961, the various equipment and machinery in the Yorkton Power Station was removed and sold. The building was still wanted by SaskPower though, as it was converted into a workshop and storage facility for the local area. We can see on this plan that the wide open spaces were converted into smaller spaces that held offices for local workers and workshops for the local maintenance vehicles. And the building's new role lasted for nearly 60 years. However, it is quite obvious that the building is not standing here today. Sadly, time caught up to the Yorkton Power Station, known later as the SaskPower Building. In 2022, SaskPower decided to demolish the historic building, leaving this empty space that they still use for their maintenance yard. Yorkton today is served by SaskPower through the same lines they strung up in the 1950s, though they clearly have been upgraded to be the high voltage lines we see here. Yorkton was once one of the few places in Saskatchewan to power itself, and the only one in the province that was diesel powered. While it is gone, the Yorkton Power Station helped usher in modernity to Yorkton. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. See you next time, history buffs.